It's so lovely. It's so lovely to welcome you, Maeve, to Discovering Dowsing. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real honour.
Oh, thank you. I've always looked forward to chatting with you in this way because you've been on a wonderful journey and you are the Sherwood Dowser as well and Maeve Marian. I mean, can you tell us
Mate,
a little
marrying you.
love it. Could you tell us a little bit about that story and maybe how you discovered dowsing?
Right, yeah. Well, the Mave marrying thing was that was Nigel's twin who came up with that one because a few years back I didn't have the confidence to sort of put myself out there, and I said to him, "Oh, I need a pseudonym." And he said, "What about Mave Marian, the Sherwood Dowser?" That's how all that came out.
Brilliant. Well, because you're based up there, aren't you, in that area
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
country?
I can actually see the edge of Sherwood Forest from the window if I look out of it now. Just right in the distance.
Oh, brilliant. And so you've come across dowsing and how did you find out about it? How did you start
Oh,
exploring this wonderful
it
world?
was about 20 years ago now. And I was wandering around a mind, body, and spirit fair because I sort of had to go at everything that was on offer there. And it was all fun, but nothing really floated my boat. And
Yeah.
then I just saw in the corner this thing that said Earth Energy's tent on it. And I thought, what on earth is an earth energy? So when I went and, you get that tingly feeling that you're in the right place.
Mm.
So I went to this chap's talk and brilliant. And then I went home, got some books about earth energies and realised that if I was going to look at them, I'd got to figure out what dowsing was. And so I tried it and it wouldn't work for me. But I'm one of these people, if I'm determined to do something, I'll do it. And I just had a Reiki attunement. So I thought, right, my hands move on their own when I put them above somebody. So I'll use them as dowsing tools. And that's what I did.
Wow.
And I'd put my name down for this chap's course. He was called Roger Berman and he was doing an Earth Energies course later that year. And I put my name down. I was really excited. And I got a phone call from his partner, and unfortunately, he'd had a stroke and he'd lost his memory, so they had to cancel the course,
Yes. Okay.
which was really sad.
Mm.
And around that time as well, I'd got in touch with what I now know to be my higher self. In fact, it all happened through this portrait I had done, which at the time I thought was a spirit guide portrait. You can just see it there.
Yeah.
And I'd got so I could communicate with him. So I said, yeah, can't go on this Earth Energies course. What am I going to do now? Thinking he would find me another human mentor. And he said, I'll teach you. And I thought, all right, this is going to be fun, isn't it? Heck, let's go with it.
Buckle up.
Yeah. And that was when I started doing what I would now call automatic writing and automatic drawing. And I sort of channeled this diagram and I drew it. And it looked like a cross section of the earth and coming up through it, through the water, were these like what was called earth energy vortices. So I went out into the garden and the fields, and I managed to find them with my hands and that. And there was it two diagrams? That was it. One showed how they came up through the geology. So it was showing that sort of water from underground forces its way up through vertical fissures.
Yes.
And as it does, it creates an electromagnetic current, which consists of two spirals. And these were what I was finding on the ground. And I thought they were absolutely brilliant. And I was dowsing them with my hands and that. And it wasn't probably for a couple of years when I got an Earth Energies book and I found that it looked very much like the diagram of a cross section of a blind spring that's in the Earth Energies glossary. So how that came about, I don't know. But then, as I spent several years, I absolutely love these Earth Energy vortexes. They're my passion. They
Mm.
do connect with Earth Energy lines, but they're my real passion in Earth Energies.
Mm.
And it was through wanting to discover how they work that I had to teach myself dowsing.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And I think I share a similar passion with you. There's sort of the spirals of the how you
Yeah,
feel when you stand on one of these vortexes.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It can be
yeah,
really generative, a bit like working with the chakras in Reiki. You get the chakra spin, and sometimes when things have been a bit overactive in the chakra, you can sort of calm it down, or when they're sluggish, you can ramp it up, or same with meridians in the body. So it's a really special thing to stand there and connect with the energy, I find as well.
absolutely. I've got some in my house. When I stand in them, I can actually feel the energy of the vortex rise up around me. And these vortexes actually do have chakras within them. And I feel that the chakra of the vortex connects with each of my chakras. It's actually an amazing feeling. And
Mm,
there are certain times of the day, it's just before sunrise, solar noon, and sunset, that for about a few minutes, these vortexes actually spin their chakras. And if you happen to be standing in one at that time, it's amazing because what it does, they first spin the root chakra, which is like your lowest frequency red one. Then
mm.
it goes straight up to the crown chakra, which will be
Literally
your highest.
going up.
Yeah. The
Wow.
next one it spins will be crown chakra.
Hmm.
Then it'll go down and spin the sacral one, which is just slightly higher frequency than the root. Then it goes back up and spins your brow chakra, back down to your solar plexus, back up to your throat, and it ends by spinning the heart chakra. And to me, it's like it's brought the frequencies and the colours into balance by ending at the heart. And
Wow.
it's an amazing way that Mother Nature does that herself.
That really, really resonates actually, because I remember my Reiki teacher. I don't know if you had the same experience because everyone's different how they teach, but I was shown that you to balance the chakras after a Reiki treatment, you put your hands on the very lowest and the highest, and you balance and then you balance and then you end up with the heart being in balance. So the same process after a Reiki.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I never took Reiki past level one, so I probably wasn't taught that. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. How wonderful.
it's exactly the same. And gosh, and yeah, and everything starts and ends in a way with the heart, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And it's the way we feel and access true, not just love, but knowing, the wisdom of the knowing
yeah,
felt sense.
yeah.
And I would imagine maybe you can help explain how you douse in that sort of body-based rather than device-based way. Because if I'm doing a body-based dowsing, I open up my heart and ground and just allow that to be really centered and to work through the heart rather than the mind. And so how does it work for you, Maeve, when you're working deviceless, if you like, with your body?
Yeah, you do have to work through the heart. But what I do, I use my hands. You know, like you're saying about using your hands in Reiki for balancing and that. And if I push my hands, say, towards somebody's aura, I feel like a little resistance.
Yes.
It just feels like resistance. Some people feel a tingling. It's almost as if you're coming up against an electromagnetic wall just at the edge of the aura.
Yes.
And I was showing people how to do this in the workshops at the BSD conference, and nearly everybody picked it up ever so easily. And that's what I do with the aura and also with earth energies. I just push my hand like this till I feel a resistance. And then I know I've, say, got the centre of an energy line, or like this, I've got a centre of a vortex that's coming up from the ground.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm literally doing what you'd call vibrational dowsing by just touching the electromagnetic energy. And
Mm,
it helps me to see, not getting a 2D picture on the ground as you might with dowsing rods, but I can feel how high it is, how dense it feels. Does it feel hot? Does it feel cold? How easy is it to push my hand through it?
mm. That's amazing. And that reminds me of a technique I was, a bit like you were saying about automatic writing or drawing. You sometimes get downloads, don't you, when you're open and you can receive and perceive. I was shown a way to work with. energy. And whenever I've shared this, information I was gifted with other people, whether or not they've done anything energetic before, it always works. And the technique I was shown is just rubbing the hands together, and then you can start to feel a chakra in front of you. But first of all, you hold your hands about sort of hip width apart, and then you draw them to each other very slowly until you find a bit of that resistance, like that vibrational sort of current almost of the edge of the sphere of this energy. And you can feel it between your hands. So I'm feeling it about sort of 8, 9 inches or sort of 20, 25 centimeters apart. And when you start to feel that resistance, you can then guide people to say, okay, feel your base chakra. And I've found that sometimes if my base chakra or any of my chakras are off in any way, they go down to the size of like a ping pong ball. And
Yeah,
then when they're optimal, it's sort of a bit like a basketball or a small, good sized beach ball, and to get them to open out from that maybe a bit tired sort of version of the chakra, you can energy weave, you can sculpt with the chakra and spin it outwards, is what I was shown, just to draw out the energy and to sort of extrude it back to the sort of, the optimal shape. And you can then feel that resistance at a bigger, sort of more like, 1.5 foot or sort of 45 centimeters, sort of, you can then, oh, it's gone back. And everyone can do this. Like you're
absolutely.
fighting
Yeah,
with auras,
yeah,
and everyone can feel it. Just being
yeah,
grounded, rubbing your hands, just feeling that initial, oh, I can feel the energy, and just seeing people's faces light up and their
yeah.
bodies go, oh, I can do this. It's
That's what
brilliant.
happened in the workshops at Malvern in September 2025. I asked people to do exactly what you were doing, bringing their hands together and that. And they all got it. And that's when they realised, like you say, everyone can do it. It's not a special gift or anything. It's just because a lot of people are so used to using tools,
Mm.
they don't click on that they can actually do it this other way, the same way that they feel people's auras and that. I
Yeah.
mean, the people who do Tai Chi and Reiki picked it up a bit quicker, but other people were picking it up straight away, and we had each other walking towards each other and feeling each other's auras and that.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Oh my gosh. And when when you're working in that three-dimensional way, as well as I'd say fifth dimensionally, because you're working through the heart, um, and you're free from that judgment or needing to think, is this right or wrong? It's not so binary, is it? It's more
Yeah,
experiential. And I mean, one thing that really struck me about your work, Maeve, is that it is, not just three-dimensional in the physical space, but multi-dimensional. So when you're feeling these vortices coming through the beautiful Mother Earth, and like you're saying, when you're using dowsing rods, you see almost like a two-dimensional line, or get your rods going in a spiral. Yes, you get a spiral feel. Um, what you're finding is a column of energy in this vortex
yeah.
that you're standing near. So it goes up about, is it about a meter or so high? How high would you say that do they vary? And what
No,
sort of,
they can go very high.
wow.
Yeah. But what I find is that these vortices that I work with, they're probably, so say it's about a metre in diameter. Then as we first come up from the ground, you've actually got two spirals coming up. One's clockwise and one's anti-clockwise. And what happens is as one of them is widening out or expanding, the other one's contracting. And as one's going up, the other's coming down. So you've got these two spirals of opposing polarity, and they're weaving together like yin and yang.
Mm,
And I find that they go up to about 1 metre above ground level.
mm,
And then the one that started off very narrow will get to about a metre at one above ground level and be as wide as it's going to get. Then
mm.
it narrows out to about 2 metres above ground level, while its opposite spiral is doing exactly the opposite thing.
Oh,
And they seem to be contained in like this plasma cylinder or tube, and it's a bit like as one expands, once it touches the edge of the tube, which the scientists might call a wave field boundary or something, that seems to make it then contract inwards. So they're continually expanding and contracting, just as if they're breathing.
That's the word that came to me when you were
Yeah,
describing it. It's like a
it's like
breath.
the breath of the earth. There is actually a book by a French chap, Gilbert Lacossac, and the title translates to the breath of the earth, and I think that's what it is.
Wow, that's
And they have
beautiful.
right in the middle a very narrow column that seems to stabilize them. It would, if you put your hands together, it'll only be about 2.5 centimeters in diameter at the most, and that just seems to stabilize the two spirals going up and down.
Like the spine.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Gosh, that's really beautiful. That when you were talking about the breath of the earth, it reminded me of an experience I had in Dorset in a beautiful walk. I went and you sometimes walk into a copse of trees and it feels like it's a tree temple, and you feel that sense of awe and wonder and magic, almost mystery of
Yes.
like you feel held by the trees. You feel it's a very calm and a sanctuary kind of feeling of a place. And I sat against one of these beautiful trees and just got into a really beautiful meditative state very quickly and sat there with my eyes closed for half an hour. And then I could just sense the earth breathing and just the feeling that you have if you walk in a processional pace. You're walking in rhythm with the earth breathing. So a lot of us walk around like dung dung dung, step step step, counting our steps, how many steps, da da da. But actually, if we walk in a processional pace in nature, or just around doing what we're doing, and we're, singing from the heart or humming, I've noticed that as well. Just really tunes me into my environment and nature, and just that sense of the earth respiring is just really beautiful, and in that sort of plasma common column vortex sort of manifestation as well. It's beautiful. You can almost sort of it's like meeting a sort of a non-physical version of us in a way, but just with, I'd
Yeah,
imagine,
absolutely, yeah.
a form
The
of
trees
consciousness.
stand in these earth energy vortices as well. And I actually found out a few years ago that some of these earth energy vortices that just appear on your lawn or whatever, when I doused them, I got that a tree used to stand there. And if it was a significant tree, by it sending its taproot down looking for water, it sucks the water up. And that also creates the vertical electromagnetic currents, and sometimes after the tree's no longer there, the vortex remains. So
Mm,
quite often, if you find one of these vortices, and there are a lot around here because this used to be Sherwood Forest, you'll find that they actually, I think, probably were created originally by a tree's taproot, but they're still there.
amazing.
Yeah. So,
And
which is why they feel so much like being with trees to us.
oh, that's oh, that makes me feel so happy in my heart, Maeve, to hear that. I just got this sense with trees that they're in the elemental kingdom, if you like, the realm of the elemental. Um, they're the most like humans
Yeah.
in 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 that realm, and they stand and observe. They're so wise, and you have the lovely sort of depictions or sort of reflections of that concept with Lord of the Rings and Treebeard, and just that gentle processional pace, gentle knowing. And if any of our listeners have ever had a connection with or a conversation with a tree or trees, it might be a familiar feeling. It's like a cousin almost, or some sort of brethren, that we have that connection through spirit, if you like. So yeah, what a beautiful memory, if you like, of the tree, that the vortex is
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
there, showing the impression of the tree that once was.
And I
Wow.
think it's all related to the consciousness of water as well. Because if you think about it, the tree's putting its taproot down and it's getting the water from below. And quite often it will perhaps come from a blind spring or something where the actual primary water, or yin water, as Maria Weekly would call it, is being sucked up. So I think that through obviously through the trees, but through the vortices that were created by trees, I think we're interacting with the consciousness of water.
Wonderful. I think you spoke about that in one of your recent videos that you posted through the British Society of Dowsers
Oh,
YouTube.
the landscape speaks. Yes,
The
yes, yes, I
landscapes,
did.
oh,
Yeah,
what a beautiful series you did and
thank
shared with
you.
us. I love all the patterns in the landscape you're finding, and I found it. So you talk about pentagrams and all the different interconnectedness of all the energies and the astrological sort of horoscopes in the landscape and but when you were talking about the research and the findings about the beacon trees and the beacon trees being almost like an anchor of the trees and the surrounding landscape, could you share with us a little bit about that? Because it's so connected with that sort of sacred water, the structured water. Is it the same thing, structured water, and or is that
I think
something?
the primary water is structured water, yes,
Yes.
that Gaia creates. Well, the beacon trees, I think they were first brought to the Dowser's attention by Gordon Field, the artist tree dowser. And what he was saying is that certain trees, they have a unique energetic structure, and they have a cone of energy going up many, many times as high as their own height, and a similar one going down below. And apparently they act as, well, mobile phone masts, and they broadcast energy into the surrounding landscape. And he also says a lot of the beacon trees are associated with underground rivers. So again, we've got the consciousness of water involved. And from what I found in my research, the times of day when the beacon trees broadcast the energy, it's coming up to sunrise, solar noon, and sunset. And it's all part of this because the earth energy vortices spin their chakras at that time, which you can feel if you stand in them. The trees are also doing like a dance at that time as well. And I won't call them lesser trees, the other trees start sending the energy that they've been weaving together during the day, from telluric energy, cosmic energy, underground water, the minerals they might be sucking up from the soil. And then they send that to the beacon tree that they're attached to. And then the beacon tree seems to broadcast all that energy. And Gordon Field thinks it can be broadcast over a radius of up to 1 or 2 miles. But from what he's saying, there are more and more beacon trees now coming online. So they probably only don't radiate out as far, and they sort of overlap each other, very much like the diagram behind you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. If
It
you
just,
imagine each of the sort of nodes where the circles overlap on your picture as
oh,
a beacon tree, that's how the energies seem to go out.
that's
And I
beautiful.
would have thought if you
Just
look at that in 3D, you've got a 3D flower of life.
you have. Yeah, I was going to say for anyone listening rather than watching, the picture of the flower of life is
Oh,
behind.
sorry, yeah.
No, that's all right. So yes, and the three-dimensional flower of life.
Yeah.
And do you suppose, with the concept of the beacon tree and what the other trees are doing with their collecting and weaving and dispersing and, maybe nourishing with all these different energies, is it that we humans are meant to be doing a similar thing, or maybe we already are and we don't even think
Yeah.
about it or know it?
Yeah, maybe we are to a certain extent, but I think when I go and look at an Earth energy vortex, I see if it's in balance. And if it's not in balance, it's not actually performing its function properly. It might not be able to spin its chakras properly. So I'd almost say that some humans are like an Earth energy vortex that's not quite in balance. And
Mm.
I think maybe if we were in balance, we would be able to self cleanse like a tree or a vortex. Because
Mm.
if their chakras spin automatically 3 times a day, perhaps ours should do as well if we were properly in balance. But
Oh,
we've got so much of the current world thrown at us all the time. I think it's hard to stay in balance. But if we try and stay more heart centered, perhaps our chakras will automatically balance themselves.
oh, that's a lovely thought. Thank you, May. So, so where is your you've got this fascination with the vortex and you can feel the energy in a three-dimensional way. Where is this research and this exploration of your journey? Just where is it going right now? What are you exploring?
Well, after I did the 3 YouTubes of the Landscape Speaks, and we put them on the British Society of Dowsers YouTube channel, um, I thought, well, I'm talking about all these ideas I've got and the theories and that, but they really need to be tested out by more dowsers. So, funnily enough, only about 2 weeks ago, this project formed in the back of it was almost in the background of my mind as I was doing other things. Over about 24 hours, I just got this idea of we really ought to instigate a research project to go out and douse these things and just to see if they really work how I think they do and maybe come up with some other things than that. So I'm just in the process of at the moment of trying to formulate a research project for next year, which is going to be based at a place that's only about 30 minutes drive from me. So, I'm going to get together a group of people who are really interested in earth energies, who are quite happy to douse earth energies all day and take readings and things like that. So we can try and prove some of my ideas.
Oh,
So that's just sort of taking form at the moment.
oh,
And I
that's
also recently joined the Dowsing Research Group, which I think are a sort of spin off of the BSD, and they've been around since about 1993.
oh,
And they call at the last BSD conference, they asked, would anybody like to join? Because they're getting a bit short on members, and quite a few of us have joined. So I'm going to see if any of them would like to be involved in the project. And anybody who lives locally to me who's got a real passion for earth energies like I have. So
oh,
I think that's what next year's going to look like for me, is doing this little research project.
oh.
I'm just sort of putting it all together now. So hopefully 2026 we'll go out there and try and put some of my ideas to the test.
Oh, I'd love to join you if I'm able to come up your way
Yeah,
again. It'd be
well, we're going to have one session a month from April to September, and it's going to be on the second Saturday of the month. So hopefully and all the sessions will be interrelated, but they'll also be standalone. So for anybody who just can only come up and join one session, they'll be able to without feeling like they don't understand what we're doing or anything. And
oh,
it's going to be at a place called Newstead Abbey, which is it used to be the home of Lord Byron, the poet, actually, but it's got a lot of parkland and woodland and things surrounding it. So even though it'll be busy with tourists and that on a Saturday, we'll be able to get far enough away to do our dowsing. And of course, it's got the obligatory cafe if we want to have a break for tea and cakes.
tea and cakes and dowsing is a lovely
Yes.
combination, I must admit.
So
Oh,
yeah, that's all forming in my mind at the moment.
wonderful. And oh, it just sounds fascinating. So people can find, I guess, the Dowsing Research Group on the British Society of Dowser, the BSD's website, and maybe find out through there if they're interested. And just just going back, I'd like to sort of go back a little bit to water, because we've touched on the Gaia's created water and it being called structured water. I wonder if it's because there's lots of interesting research going on. There has been with Dr. Masaru Emoto, people may have come across with hidden messages in water, and more recently Veda Austin's work with water and freezing it. So you see the intention or the potential, like putting a sunflower seed in to water, and you see the shape of a sunflower itself when the water's been frozen, just showing again the potential of the seed, or how your thought forms can interact with water. What are you what are you aware of? Maybe you can share some of your findings or sort of, discoveries or experiences in this wonderful world of water that we're kind of remembering, right? The memory of water, the water being consciousness. What have you found? And
But one of the reasons that I think these earth energy vortices are connected to the consciousness of water is actually in each of their chakras, you can dowse a glyph or a pictogram.
ah,
You actually can in your own chakras. I mean, I do it because I can do like the automatic drawing. So I just center myself in my heart and just draw on a piece of paper what it looks like. And I find, just like Emoto found and like Vader Austin is finding, if that chakra, whether it be human or part of an earth energy vortex, if it's out of balance, the glyph is it's a bit stagnated. You can't really tell what the form is. But if it's in balance, it might be some petals or it might be the start of a mandala.
mm,
And which is why, and that's exactly what Emoto and Vader Austin are finding. And the more imbalanced the chakra is, the more the mandala seems to come out. And other dowsers have found when they go to what they call node points, where two earth energy dragon currents cross, or even node points that don't have dragon currents crossing, they can dowse these like start of mandalas on the ground. They sometimes call them two lemniscates or infinity symbols, which are the equivalent of four petals. But then the more and more you get that to open up, the more and more it becomes a bit like a mandala. And I think this is all part of the consciousness of water. And especially when you start looking into the more scientific thing that says we basically exist in a sea of plasma, and plasma is one of the states of water. So I think it is literally all to do with water. I mean, years ago, after finding Emoto, I came across a chap called Dr. Gerald Pollack from America, and he was working on things like the different phases of water. And he became one of Veda Austin's mentors, and he encourages her very much. But Veda's brought it out into the open, and she's made it accessible to everybody. It's not just something scientific, it's something everybody can do by freezing some water and having something appear in it. So she's really transformed people's thoughts about water. And now water isn't something to be demonized because it's under your house and causing geopathic stress. It's actually something that is beautiful. And as long as the water that's under your house is balanced, it's going to give you a beautiful experience.
that's a lovely way of explaining it, Maeve, and thank you for that concept of geopathic stress and maybe geopathic support. And seeing not people not having to worry if a water line goes under their house. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be detrimental for health. And if we can tune into that energy, that reminds me, I can't remember who said it, but quite a few years ago, about 20 odd years ago, in the dowsing literature somewhere for probably a BSD journal, I read somewhere that instead of seeking out where problems are, because people were finding dowsers who were doing that geopathic stress work and seeking out problem areas were actually having damaged health after a while because they were standing on and working with all this stuff
Yes.
on an ongoing basis, perhaps.
Yeah.
And this person was saying, instead of that, why not go to the places where the energy is amazing and work on growing that?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
That
easier,
was,
right, than
yeah.
fixing broken
Yeah.
things. Why
Yeah.
not? Why not grow the beautiful
Yeah.
stuff?
But one method I found was that most of the underground water is attached to one or more of these earth energy vortices. So if I found somewhere where there was a problem of geopathic stress, I would be asked to be taken to the earth energy vortex that's associated with this water. And I would always find that this vortex is out of balance. And by rebalancing the vortex, maybe using crystals, or I use an Egyptian earth energy Isis pendulum, which changes the colour frequencies. If you rebalance that vortex, the associated water lines also become rebalanced. It's almost like the vortex is the source of the water in the water veins. So go back to the source of the problem, and then you don't have to bother trying to sort out the water veins that go under your house.
Gosh, I love that. I really love that because everything's accessible then, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
it has
about
to be taken to the actual
balancing.
source of it.
Yes.
And you don't have to actually be physically there. You can balance it remotely.
That's great. That reminds me of the founder of the Celeste pendulum, Jean-Marc de Goyani. He recently did a workshop on Celeste, and we'll put it into the show notes for anyone curious about this. It's not necessarily a pendulum as a dowsing tool. It's a shape based on beautiful sacred geometry, a bit like the infinity and sort of Mobius loop signs based on the Fibonacci spiral. Um, it the way a person uses it on a person's body, whether they're physically there or remote work, you go and you find a point where you're scanning this particular line on the body, and you find a point where there's a resistance, and you feel that slight stuckness, and then you go into that part on the body, and then you're working at the cell level, the skin cell level. You do a little switch, clockwise, sort of quarter half turn in a very definitive way, to sort of twist with your finger and thumb, and then the Celeste pendulum moves in, and you sort of cleanse or balance and harmonize that particular point and wherever it goes, and you work through the different layers of the body. That reminds me of that same principle, that you go in through that one single point, but it can harmonize a whole heap of stuff.
Yeah, it's like you've created a vortex into that layer of the aura.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But
exactly.
I mean, Celeste is wonderful. As soon as I saw her, I knew I had to have one.
Mm,
And what Jean-Marc says is that she came from water when a drop of a stalagmite, when he was in a cave, I think it was in Slovenia, fell on his third eye, and it gave him the idea to go and have somebody help him create Celeste. And he's actually said, because he's clairvoyant, that when Celeste works in somebody's aura, it almost looks like she's moving through water. And I think one of the things that all healing does is it helps restructure our body water, which then gives our bodies the power to cleanse themselves.
that feels very, oh yeah, very nourishing to hear that and feel that as well. Definitely. That makes so much sense. Um, if anyone if anyone does sort of intention work and, working with, let's say, the flower of life or a Celeste pendulum, you can get ordinary tap water, and you can put the pendulum in the water, and it spins around until it makes it like velvety, silky water. I've sort of witnessed that. Um, and it not only does that, in the workshop I was at with Jean-Marc, it was actually filling all the other cups of tap water in the room with the same shifts, if you
Yeah,
like. Done it with river water, and it feels better in your own body. It's
yeah,
really remarkable. It's beautiful, isn't it? What intention and that that natural beauty of the natural forms of the earth. And I can't remember who was saying to me that the Celeste looks like the drop of water just at the moment of dropping from the stalagmite,
wow, yeah,
the
yeah,
shape
it
of
does.
shape of her. So,
Right, and it's also like an infinite, a sort of 3D infinity symbol.
yes,
And a friend of mine who I showed it to said it looks like a bit like a goddess pendant. It
yeah,
seems to have lots of layers weaved into it, and
yeah,
it's magical.
yes, yes, and it feels very appropriate for right now as
Yes,
well. It
yeah,
feels like the right time for this kind of beautiful
Yeah, when I saw it, I think it was on the British Society of Dowsers YouTube channel. I think there are two talks by John Mark about Celeste, and as soon as I saw him using it, I just felt like it's like the Egyptian pendulums are good, but they were designed for people a few thousand years ago,
Mm.
whereas Celeste is designed for our body and energetic structures as they are today.
Yes.
So even though that yes, the Egyptian pendulums still work well, I just think Celeste is for today. It's
Mm.
for the now. And it's
Absolutely.
quite exciting.
Absolutely. And like you're right about that goddess, that divine feminine. It
Yeah.
resonates through her. That we call a Celeste, by her, by, female sort of pronoun is, I think, so appropriate as well. It's wonderful. Oh gosh. And it feels limitless, doesn't it? With
Yes. Yeah.
how you can expand with it, and you build up a dialogue and a rapport with Celeste
Yeah.
and connect in a way that is beyond words as well, I would say. It's
Yes, definitely. And it's one of them things, those things again, where you get into your heart center with it. You don't have to have your mind involved. You just literally hold Celeste and let her guide you.
mm, yes, absolutely. It's all about getting the mind completely out
Yeah.
of the way. And it's even you can have a conversation with somebody else while Celeste is doing
Yes.
her magic.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
really, it's probably beneficial because you're
Yeah.
occupied otherwise. It's great.
Which is what I found with my deviceless dowsing. When I put my hand palm down over an earth energy vortex, I just get my mind out the way and just hold my hand so gently. And it's actually the energy currents that move my hand. So my hand goes round in a spiral, either moving up or down. And that's literally vibrational dowsing because the energy is vibrating my hand and causing it to move. The same as if you're doing Reiki and you hold your hand over somebody's chakra.
Exactly the same. It
Yeah.
feels everything's connected, isn't it? The way we're
Yeah.
talking today. And do you have any recommendations for people earlier on in their journey, perhaps with their dowsing exploration and what they're figuring out? How would you maybe say to sort of slightly younger Maeve, or somebody just curious, or trying to find out, where would you suggest they look and explore?
Well, actually, I have three rules of dowsing. My first rule is dowsing should be fun. If
Yes.
you're not having fun with it, you're not getting anywhere.
No.
And the second one is go with what you get, even if it's not what you're expecting and not what another person gets. Because you might be tuning into a different layer and you're being taught something different.
Mm.
So have your confidence. And something that a good friend of mine, Ali Denham, told me, and she's one of the most accurate dowsers I have ever met. And I said, Ali, why is your dowsing so accurate? And she says, at the end of a session, I literally ask, on either on a scale of 1 to 10 or whatever, how accurate has the dowsing that I've just done been? And as long as she gets it's 8 or 9 out of 10, she's happy.
Mhm.
And that increases your confidence. And then if your dowsing wasn't that accurate, you can go and explore why it wasn't. So
Yeah.
that's just a way to build your own confidence when you're learning. And you can also ask, how accurate are the conclusions that I've drawn from my dowsing? Because your actual dowsing evidence may have been spot on, but you could have drawn the wrong conclusion from it. And my last rule of dowsing is dowsing works best when combined with tea and cakes. And that literally is if you're going dowsing with a group of friends, just get together beforehand and have a cuppa because it cements the group together. You get to know each other and you feel more comfortable in their company. And
Oh, I
then
love that.
do the same at the end, because then, especially if you're new to dowsing, that's when you get time just over a cuppa to ask the questions and say, I found this and I'm not sure about it in a relaxed environment.
Mm. Oh, that's perfect. That's so simple and accessible. Thank you so much, babe. Oh, wow. What a lovely conversation it's been today. I'm so grateful. Really am.
I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I look forward to seeing you soon. Don't know where yet, but at a dowsing
Oh, I'm sure
conference,
you
or
will.
yeah, somewhere or other. Um, just a little tiny thing we haven't talked about, but maybe we can touch on briefly dragons. You've
Oh,
mentioned
yes.
dragon
Yeah.
lines. I just thought maybe they want to come into the conversation. So, what can you share with us about dragons overall, dragon lines, and what your perceptions are of this, what seems to be either emerging or resurgent awareness about dragon energy and dragon gifts, if you like?
Well, you get like energy lines like the Mary and Michael lines and the Ellen and Belinus lines. They get called earth energy dragon currents. And I think that's literally because they snake their way around the countryside, but they've also, it's as if they've got wings and they're flying above ground, a bit like the Chinese concept of the dragon lines and everything.
Mm.
And a friend of mine who I met about 10 years ago was very much into dragons. I asked her once, what's the difference between a dragon and an angel? And she said, they're the same thing. And and that really resonated with me. And what myself and some other dowsers in the Earth Energy Zoom group started to find was that sometimes these beings, dragons, angels, or whatever, they can actually embed themselves in an Earth energy line. And quite often at that time, the earth energy line widens out to accommodate them. And it helps them actually, I believe it helps them embody on earth. So they've not got a physical body like us, but they can use the energy line or even an energy vortex to actually just temporarily embody on earth and help in whatever way that they need to. And
Wonderful.
if you think about an earth energy vortex, it's a bit like a dragon's cave. In fact, if I've got time just for a quick story, I
Please.
was once at a mind, body, and spirit fair just round the corner from me, and there was a drumming session by my Barbara Mickle-John Free. And in the centre of the room, they put this huge mother drum, and they'd instinctively placed it in a huge earth energy vortex. And she had people drumming. There was one circle going one way round the drum, one circle going the other way, a bit like a vortex.
Yeah.
And as we drummed, she was saying some sort of a chant that was calling up energy from the earth. And as I watched, I could tell there was an earth energy current started spiraling out of this vortex. And it was just like a dragon, and it felt like a yellow dragon. And it spiraled round the room, out of the window, and carried on over the countryside. And it connected with a little chapel nearby. And I was able to douse that for the next few years. And it seemed like every time there was a drumming session there, which was every 6 months, it enhanced it. And it was only during the COVID lockdown that this dragon seemed to disappear back into its cave because there was no drumming there. And it's not been out since. And it literally felt to me like it was a dragon emerging from its cave.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Because there is something about drumming and music, and not just dragons, but earth energies as well. And that sense of the mandala, if you like, it just seems like it's an interweaving of, sound, geometry, light, song. It's all part of the same continuum of
Yeah.
energy. And just to see or sense that dragon essence, if you like, emerging from the cave, that reminds me of the work in humans that people call Kundalini awakenings, where you go down to the source of the spine, the coccyx, if you like, and people practicing Kundalini yoga might be familiar with the spiraling energy that comes from there. And you can do journeys into the cave as such, and then meet the serpent, and then that Kundalini activation, if you like, will come through in that same essence. It's the same thing, perhaps, just in human bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's the same thing. And I think, your dowsing journey is also a spiritual journey. And as you learn to douse and learn to interact with lots of different energies and that and meet different dowsers, I think it's helping you raise your own kundalini and going through your spiritual journey. In
Yes.
fact, I often say the journey is more important than the destination. And
100%.
even though you come up with all these conclusions for dowsing and that, what was really important was the journey where you went through to do the dowsing before you came up with the conclusions and how it changed you as a person. I mean, it certainly changed me, made me think about things in a different way.
Mm.
And yeah, my dowsing journey has just been brilliant.
It is. Yeah, I so concur because it's like a quest, isn't it? The hero's quest. We're all on our own hero's journey, and to start off whatever whatever trip hazard there is in life, that makes us go, oh, I better look around a bit more. What's this about? Why did I trip there, or why did that happen? And then you start on your journey of discovery. You meet your sage, you meet your sort of mentors, and you have these discoveries or aha moments on your journey, and it literally expands your consciousness every step you're taking. And even if you reach that epiphany state of full, self-realization, self-actualization, full awakening, whatever you want to call it, you're not done. It's not like, yeah, you've arrived at the bus stop and destination. It's not like finished. You'll continue to expand. And that's the nature of the spiral of consciousness. It's expanding. And it's just marvelous. And the thing I find really valuable about dowsing is it teaches us really early on how to get that muscle memory of getting your mind neutral and non-judgmental and just observing and just catching those ego spike moments of like, oh yeah, how wonderful am I because I discovered that thing. No, it's not about it's not about your ego. It's about the joy and the wonder of the feeling of discovering something rather than tooting your own horn about it. And dowsing is so grounded because a lot of us are outdoors because we're passionate. It's in particular in the UK. I know other countries too about the earth energies, and we're so blessed with these sacred sites all around us that we can connect with and feel. Why did our ancestors put these amazing stone circles in situ? So yeah, it's that wonderful expansion and humbling as well. It's very humbling because you get more and more vision of the majesty of what's really out there, the unseen, but the experienced, or the if you've got clairvoyance, you can maybe perceive those beautiful colours of an earth energy line or people's chakras or field. So yeah, I'm so with you on that, May. Thank you for sharing. Let's continue on our journeys of discovery. Let's see what
Yeah, yeah.
happens.
Well, that's why it's so important to, like I say, to go with what you get, even if you weren't expecting it, and even if somebody else there gets something different, don't be deflated because you're on a different journey to them, so you're going to be shown something different. And if they're shouting out and saying it's this, and you're getting something else, just quietly think to yourself, "No, I've got that for a reason," and be confident in that.
Absolutely. And if I could share a teeny tiny story about that same thing, quite early on when I was studying art, I learned that part of the creative process is making what is apparently a mistake. However, if you choose to look at that slip up or slip of the hand or brush, whatever it is, if you choose to look at it as an opportunity to sort of furrow into a new seam of something and explore that, go into it, lean into it, it can take you on a completely unexpected journey and direction. And actually, that's maybe what was meant to happen. So the whole cult, if you like, of perfection is an absolute myth. And let's find these little wrinkles and furrows and burrows, and let's explore them. Let's get curious with those slip ups because they're meant to happen, and
Yeah.
let's be open to them. And yeah, even if it seems completely like what with your dowsing finding, just be curious. And yeah, who knows where it'll take you.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that lovely note, I think we've had this lovely connection today. Thank you, Maeve, and thank you for sharing. It feels like a real blessing to have you here. And yeah, what a lovely chat.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Bless you.
Thank
And
you.
bless everybody who's listening.
Thank you. Bless everyone. Lovely.